Hi, Cathy. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming.
Hi, Sarah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. So for people who aren't already familiar with Wildfire, maybe you could give us a brief introduction in your own words. What's this film all about?
Wildfire, I suppose, is at the heart of it. It's about an intense sibling bond, and it's about a family that is struggling to deal with its past, but also a community at large because it's set in borderland Northern Ireland, present day.
And what was the inspiration for this story? Why did you want to kind of take, I guess, this kind of political backdrop, but also this very kind of personal story of these two sisters?
Well, first and foremost, before I had even an idea, an inkling, I had cast the film, which I know was unusual. But I had worked with these two actors separately, and there was something about Nika's energy and Nora Jane's energy. I was just excited to put them two together. And it was their ability and range to be both incredibly vulnerable and incredibly fierce. And I just thought that was a really interesting polarity. So we talked back and forth for a few months, and we knew that we wanted to tell a story with an intense sibling bond. So we came across the story of the Erickson twin sisters who had a shared psychosis. And without giving too much away of the film, there's a key event that actually happened in real life where these two sisters, there was an extreme event happening. For us, it was like a springboard about what would cause two sisters to behave like that in such an extreme way. And we were lucky enough that the Wellcome Trust came on board, and we began researching psychosis, shared psychosis. And we realized that during a psychosis, the past can become present. So we began figuring out whatever's happened to these two sisters, it's incredibly important. So we rooted the story back in borderland Northern Ireland, where I'm from. And I started looking into trauma from Northern Ireland, and I heard about transgenerational trauma for the first time. Basically a trauma that can't be processed, so it's passed on to the next generation. And with Northern Ireland, we have some of the highest suicide rates in Europe, the highest usage of antidepressant in the world. And it made me realize there's a legacy of the troubles that it's not even been touched on, not even been talked about, not even been communicated. And I realized that there was something there. So firstly, I wanted to understand how that trauma operates within a family and then a community. But when we started this film, Brexit wasn't on the horizon. The Good Friday Agreement was very much intact. And I guess what happened, the more we drilled into these characters and their sense of place and sense of past, it just became more political. But it was never at the foreground. It was never at the forefront. It was always about these two sisters living with trauma.
And, two incredible actresses. I mean, I know really sadly we lost Nika last year, but, incredible performance and alongside Nora Jane. So how did you work with them to kind of, have this kind of intensity, the two very different characters that at times seem completely contrasting and then at other times are very much kindred spirits? And there's some incredible scenes, from them swimming in the river to doing that amazingly choreographed dance sequence. So what was it like working with them, and how did you work to kind of tease out the different parts of their characters?
Well, really for start, it's really casting. And I knew that they had a middle ground. And then when they got to a middle ground, it would be somehow really exciting to unlock. So really, I started with music because I didn't have a script. So I played Patti Smith's Horses, and that was the very first workshop we did. I played the music, and I said to the two actors, that's kind of the energy of this film. It's kind of manic, and you need to be able to reach that energy because we know what that act that the sisters are going to do within the film, that takes a lot of energy. So I was saying to them, you need to match the energy, you need to match the energy of each other. And, Nika was going for it. Nora Jane was going for it. And so they were one-upmanship. And I realized this fight and this struggle, but ultimately, as they were dancing, that they realized they didn't need to fight, because when they found a place of connectedness, it was so much more satisfying than fighting for it. And I sat back and I watched, and I realized that is the film. What they were doing, that movement, that dance, and it's all unspoken. That is the film. And so that really became, one part of a way in. And then as we were building the story, the two actresses went on the research with me, and we spoke to two sisters who had a shared psychosis, and we were hearing the everyday moments. One sister in particular, she realized that something wasn't right when one night a wolf followed her home. And when she went to open the door, she looked back and it was gone. And I realized the moment, she couldn't even explain it. And this girl had experienced psychosis, was, you know, now well and had been treated, but she couldn't even make sense of how it happened. And it was hearing moments like that, realized that this film, if it's going to be honest, you can't explain everything away, because life is messy and it's complicated. And that's the truth of it. And I really wanted the film to have some of that, not some kind of cookie cutter, here's your plot, here's your turning point, here's this happens. It had to feel organic and real and subconscious and all those things. And I think with workshopping is incredibly demanding on the actors, because it's different from rehearsal when you have a script. With workshopping, you know, you're going in from the ground up and you're saying, I want you to walk into that room like it's the first time you've seen your sister and you thought she was dead. And like, an actor can't, if they go halfway, they like undercook it, or they decide I'm going to hold that back for when we shoot it, it's game over, because it goes from false speak to false speak. So we had like numerous weeks of that over 5 years, building those incredibly intimate, honest, raw moments that like it became a sisterhood between the three of us. And you know, our sense of characters and what was real to us and what wasn't real to us all started to blur, and it became incredibly personal. And the bond was real. Like they were like two sisters, you know. They argued and they loved each other, you know. You know what I mean, which is so much more powerful than here's best friends who just, you know, just love to hang out with each other. It was real, you know. And that bond was incredibly earned.
Mm. And thinking about, you know, some of the things you're just talking about there, where not everything's always explained, and there is often kind of a surrealist quality. And thinking of the color, maybe of like the red coat that was their mother's, and seeing the images of the wolf. So was that something, you know, where did you take inspiration from for that kind of look and feel of the film?
Well, I think the red coat came from, I always felt like the mother was like, you know, small town Ireland, and I felt like she was like a movie star in this town. She had red lipstick, and I felt like she'd be the kind of woman who walked down the street and everyone would stop and stare because she was so beautiful. And I felt like she would have this red elegant coat that would just pop out in this town. So that felt like it made sense, you know. And the fact that she was almost too beautiful for this town, and she was too big for this town, and I really liked that idea. In terms of how all the colours came together, you know, it was really fascinating, because we were meant to shoot the film in the summer, and you know, with timings and stuff like that, it ended up being in the autumn. So all of a sudden all the leaves started going golden and orange around us, and all of a sudden it became really fiery. And it was a fate that, you know, all of a sudden the world started changing. But there were certain things like the salmon house that it made sense that there was something cocoon like, womb like, you know, that when she would go into the mother's room, that would have this warm homely feeling that felt kind of primal and, you know, womb-like, I guess, like a return of sorts.
And it does have this socio-political kind of backdrop, but then, like we say, it's got this you know, kind of love story, but, you know, of a sisterly bond at the center of it, and the lengths they'll go to for each other, and how their connection like trumps everything else that's going on. So what do you think some of the key themes are, and what do you think people are going to take away from it?
Firstly, I hope people kind of go into this one with an open mind. Because this is, you know, I'm from the north. I've seen many Troubles films over the years, and they're always from a male perspective. They're all kind of, you know, terrorist driven men with guns, and you know, this film isn't like that. It's not some kind of conspiracy thriller. It's so rooted in the personal and the everyday and the intimacy that I hope people don't try and put baggage on it. Just let it be about two sisters on this intense bond, and embrace that journey, that journey that's in, you know, can be anxiety inducing but full of love, and to trust that, and to trust the you know, these female characters at the front and fore, and let it be what it is. And I hope that, you know, it's meant a lot to us making this film, and then we put a lot of heart in it, and you just hope that the right people will connect with this film, and that they will experience and feel something that we felt.
Okay, well, I think I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and congratulations on this, because I know it's your debut feature. So thanks so much.
Yes.